Nobody quite knows exactly when the property market is going to be opening up, certainly not in Scotland. There are some dates which are being thrown around here for different phases of the unlockdown. The first one is the 18th of June, is when we're meant to be going into phase two, or at least that's when we are meant to be reevaluating the situation that the country is in, and if it's in the right situation, then we'll be moving into stage two. Just now we're in stage one, which means one family can meet another family in a park, but 2 meters apart, kind of stuff. And phase two will mean that there'll be more or less restrictions on movement there. After the 18th of June, if we do move into phase two, the next date is the 11th of August. Which is a big date difference there. So at the moment, the kind of speculation is somewhere in between the two of them when the property market might open up again. So somewhere in July that they're thinking something's going to happen. Certainly in Scotland, the schools don't go back until September, but certainly July and August, that's their summer holidays time. So it's kind of between summer holidays and start of school or schools reopening that they think that the property market will open up again. Not to the same extent as what it was before. There'll still be a lot of restrictions. And talking about the restrictions, if you go to the RICS website or the RICS.org, they've put down their guidelines for their surveyors that go out to the properties and value the properties of all the restrictions that they need to follow when visiting a property and checking that it's safe for them to go in and all that kind of stuff. And it is incredibly strict. So there's going to be a lot of properties which they're just not going to be able to be allowed to go into, or it's going to be a large time delay before they go in. Certainly if there's any vulnerable people in the property, or even been in that property, or will be in that property anytime soon after a person's been visiting the place. So for example, if you've got somebody who's selling their house because they want to downgrade because they live in a 5-bedroom house and it's just their, a 70-year-old husband and wife, and they're like, we don't need a 5-bedroom house anymore, we'd rather have one with a garden somewhere. If they're in the vulnerable age group of 70, then you kind of go, we can't go in and give your property evaluation. So there's still going to be, even once it's opened up, there's going to be definite restrictions on the properties that are able to be valued. Additionally, what I did find quite interesting was I was in a webinar yesterday for Rightmove, and their head of Newark, I'll just get this one up, the head of Property Mark, which is like the go-to website for kind of advice on property in Scotland, he was on a webinar, where was it, for the legal and compliance update for property sector in Scotland, and he made a great statement where they said, one of the main goals of putting a property on the market now is to reduce footfall as much as possible. And I was just like, that's an amazing change from the past. The idea was always like, get as many people in the door as possible. And now, literally, as photographers, as videographers, our role is to do the exact opposite. Our role is to reduce the number of people going into a property. He even states himself, something which we were working on with the minimum standards in photography for minimum standards in property photography for Scotland, was that idea that you're not allowed to hide anything. So part of the Property Ombudsman guidelines, which follow the CPR, the Consumer Protection Rights, is to make sure that you're not misleading the clients in any sort of way through deception or through wrong information, but deception or by not including some information. So he even says himself that if you're doing property videos now, property walkthroughs, virtual tours, however you want to call them, you've got to be showing the good, obviously, but also indicating the bad. Maybe not highlighting the bad, but making sure that you are covering your tracks in every sort of way, so that when anybody comes to view the property, they're not, once they're getting there, finding out things which would have put them off viewing the property in the first place, because you're effectively just increasing traffic, increasing footfall to a property just now is dangerous. So you want to make sure that people, before they even think about going to see a property, they know everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, about a property, so that they're not changing their mind once they get there. Literally, they're just going there to see the property because they know everything about it, and they just want to say, right, I've been there. I'm happy to put my money down on the table here for this. So that's a big change from what it was in the past. In the past, it's always like, oh, don't show any of the bad things. Just get people in the door, and they'll fall in love with it because of the location, because of the atmosphere, because of the neighbours, because of blah blah blah. Now it's a case of like, we don't want people coming in the door. We want people to come in the door and just go, yep, I have physically been here. I am happy to put my money down. It is as it was advertised. So that it's an interesting world that we're going into now. It's certainly an interesting marketing world going into there. So as photographers, you've got to start promoting your work to the point of saying that you are becoming CPR, not CPR certified, but CPR compliant. Consumer protection rights. There's a part in property misdescriptions that you don't give off the wrong information or misleading information or through omission. That's the main term. So in other words, for example, the one that we do is if there's a property that's up for sale, but maybe the next door neighbours has a pile of scaffolding out the front. If we don't show the fact that the next door neighbours might be having building work going on for the next 18 months, you could potentially be in violation of the consumer protection rights, because that is something which could make somebody change their mind on buying a property, kind of going, oh yeah, I like this property, but I work night shifts. Oh, looks like they're going to be building, a new house in their garden for the next year and a half. That's going to disturb my sleep. Nope, I actually don't want to buy that. All of that could have been avoided if you had just taken a photo which showed both that house and the neighbouring houses or the neighbouring street, and indicated that there was a building works going on around you. So yeah, our job now is not just to make the property look good. We've got to make the photos look as good as possible, but the imagery has to be as accurate as possible and give as much information so that we reduce the number of footfall into a property as possible. That's an amazing change in our world that's going on in here. So yeah, if your agents want to stay on top of things, they've got to be changing the way that they do it. It's not about getting loads and loads of phone calls and loads of people through the door. It's about getting that one person that knows everything about the house through the door and doing that one sale. So it wastes as little time as possible for everyone. So in terms of opening up dates, somewhere between the 18th of June and the 11th of August, somewhere between then is what they're thinking. Some properties may go on the market, or there may be some marketing getting done before those times. Just so it's ready whenever they can get the home reports done, that is just ready to go live. But yeah, we're talking about middle of maybe July, start of July, August time we're looking for. Okay, there you go. That's my info that I've got from the inside. I hope it helps. Bye bye.